Mavericks stupidly win a game on, was it Friday night? 123-117 over the Detroit Pistons. I'm RJ Choppy. He is Bobby Belt, Peyton and Aiden alongside. And if you go to the Tankathon, sitting in 12th, right there, tied with Phoenix. And, the Suns obviously they both. Here's the funny thing.
So you're telling me there's a chance?
Mavs have a little bit better of a top 4 chance, little bit better of top overall. Phoenix actually helped us out. They've won 6 of 10, while we lost 8 of 10.
Yeah, and it's only going to get worse here, Chop. If we're trying to tank, it's going to get worse. If you want to make the playoffs, if you want to make the play-in as a Mavericks fan, good on you. You've got a better chance, it looks like, because here was the news late last night from Mark Stein. RJ Choppy. He said, after my report yesterday that Anthony Davis is poised to return from a left abductor strain during the Mavericks' upcoming 4-game road trip, Dallas has officially upgraded Davis to doubtful. Monday at Brooklyn, Tuesday at Knicks, or Thursday at Orlando have emerged as targets for Anthony Davis's return to the Mavericks lineup, the Stein line has learned. Out since February 8th, Davis is officially listed as doubtful Monday at Brooklyn, but is in contention now to play at Madison Square Garden.
Oh, and this was the day tonight. Right, this was the forfeit day.
Yes,
this was the
they're
forfeit
gonna make
day.
it, though.
Yeah, they're going to make it. 3 games in 4 days, though.
Yep. But hey, he'll be back.
He'll be back.
And so now you are going to have Anthony Davis, it looks like, for however long he can stay healthy on the stretch run.
Yeah.
And Nico's like, all right, here it is. I'm finally going to be proven right. Finally going to be proven right that we got rid of that obese Slovenian and all that he's done in LA.
Just terrible. Just terrible.
What do you think? Where do you think the resentment for European basketball players built up for Nico? You think it was playing over there?
Oh, that could have been.
I had somebody suggest that to me. They were
that actually could have been.
Somebody who actually is around the Mavericks a little bit suggested to me, they're like, I do think he might have built up some resentment when he played over there.
I could buy that.
I would 100% buy it.
Absolutely buy that. That's an interesting take, and I'm kind of disappointed in myself I didn't come with that first.
You did come up with he doesn't like European players.
Fair.
So we just connected the dots.
Okay. So this is Mark Cuban on a podcast. This is Tom Segura's podcast.
I love Segura. It's your mom's house. I love Tom Segura.
I have not heard him much.
Gosh, he's hilarious. He's one of those comedians who moved to Austin.
I mean, they all did, it seems like.
He's one of the big ones. So he was... he really got, I mean, he's been big, but he really got propped up by Rogan, and that kind of helped him.
So Cuban went on his podcast, and they were talking about, like what Mark actually, still controls, because when he bought the team, or when he sold the team, it was like, all right, you're still going to run basketball operations, but, Segura asked him, like, what do you still control?
What part of basketball do you control, and what do you not?
I don't
control?
Anymore, and I haven't for a while.
So you relinquished all of it.
I didn't relinquish. They kind of
muscled it out of you.
Yeah, I wouldn't say muscled, but the majority owner, Patrick Dumont, decided that he was comfortable with Nico Harrison, the general manager, and the team he had put together, which is his choice.
His choice.
I mean, and you can't totally argue with him because we went to the finals.
Yes.
Now I could tell you, but yeah, it was his choice, and he made his choice, and so I'm just a fan now.
You were in the position of having some.
That was when I originally sold the team. That originally was that originally what was supposed to happen.
Okay,
and then over time, and initially it was, and then over time it was like, okay, and Nico we trust, and so here we are.
Stuff. What is stuff?
I don't know. I'll say this.
Stuff happened?
I'll say this. Did he really go with just a handshake deal, or was there supposed to be something in writing about what his role with the team was going to be?
Man, this is this one clip here that we just played where he was like, this is supposed to be this way, and they basically was like, no, we got and Nico we trust now. This is where it makes me angry. Like Mark sold, that was his right to do. I don't believe you can get mad at Mark for selling the team. Like, if he wants to sell the team, he wants to get out, like, fine.
Nico, we trust.
But then Nico and it sounds like he is kind of saying, like, Nico and Dumont kind of got together and were like, hey, we can run this ourselves. We have more freedom because Mark has too much loyalty, and we don't have loyalty to any one person. If you want to be a conspiracy theorist, you go down that road.
You remember how you've said before, I don't want to name names, But you remember how you said before, there's a certain individual in the DFW media landscape who you believe has a reputation for just kind of sliding into a certain sliding close to opportunity and then creating it for himself.
Not that. That's not it.
I just said for himself, creating it for himself.
Yeah, there's a couple.
Yeah,
there's a couple, and I do their voices quite often. So yes.
So my point is, it sounds like Nico just went, all right, I'm the guy. I'm gonna work on this and just bypass Mark.
Yeah, the moment Dumont bought the team, he was the guy to kind of sidle up to.
And it wasn't just I want to be above him in the hierarchy. It's I want him out.
Yeah.
The guy who hired him, it's I want him out, and I want all this.
Yeah, because it would not shock me if Nico didn't come to him before Mark and say, "Hey, what do you think about this?"
Do you think that maybe part of what his whole angle was this? We'll never be able to move Luka if Mark's here.
Mark's still here.
I've got to be able to get in here so that I can do it.
It might play into it. It would not surprise me if it did, because Dumont always wanted to be the basketball guy, right? He was from a basketball loving family. That was his Wikipedia page even says that.
Tweedle Dumont.
And there's an ego. Egos come into play, and Nico's like, "Hey, listen, I could be the guy. It's just me and let's just have it me and Patrick Dumont and nobody else." Now, Cuban talks about the night that the trade happened and how he found out.
I imagine your phone blew up a lot.
Well, I was in Florida at a conference, and I don't know, 11 at night or whatever it was.
Yeah, it was late.
Yeah, and I get a text, and it was from our general manager, and I thought he was asking me what I thought, and then I realized very quickly he was telling me what happened. And I told him I didn't agree with it, and and various reasons, but it wasn't my decision to make.
Mark sounds like he just he made a bad deal. Mark, there were some fans pushing back on this initially when everything happened. They were blaming Mark for, you should have known better. Why'd you sell to these guys? And that was my thought too. Was always, there's no way to know that these guys are going to trade Luka. You don't know that. But part of me does wonder.
Nobody would even consider that as an option.
But here's the thing that I did. Here's what should have been, if he genuinely was concerned about preserving this team and preserving Luka here as a Maverick and everything else. He should have had a better sense of who Nico Harrison was and the risk in hiring somebody else to make the decisions that Nico wanted.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where, because this could not have been the first time that he, now unless Nico Harrison is just so completely underhanded and so sneaky that he just knew to conceal any of that from Cuban. And then when he saw the opportunity, he went, oh, okay, Cuban will never let it happen, but now I'm going to voice this. The fact that he says there that it sounded like Cuban was essentially, that was the first Cuban had heard about it, was being asked about it.
Yeah.
That's stunning.
Yeah, and the sad thing is that we are 2.5 months. No, we're almost 2 months removed from the trade. There'll be a month. It'll be 2 months in a week. 2 months next Monday. And we're still sitting here talking about it. People are still bringing Cuban on podcasts talking about it. And people are still going to be talking about this thing for a while.
What is your fatigue factor?
It's there.
Well, and I'm curious for the listeners.
It's more angry. And I'm still just like, it's like we're gathering answers still.
877-881-1053. 877-881-1053. What is your fatigue level with the fallout from the Luka trade? How much are you still angry at the Mavericks? How much are you just tired of hearing about it? Are you at the Spencer Dinwiddie point where you're just like, or the PJ Washington point where you're like, you know what? We're tired of hearing it. We're tired of hearing about fire Nico. It's just time to move on. Or you just say, no, this isn't anything that I'm going to accept. I'm not going to be happy about this. I'm not going to be open to this until the Mavericks change ownership or change general manager or change both. Because I think for a lot of people, it's not going to end until they're out. Or one of it. Do you think Nico being fired would be enough, or do you think Dumont would have to go too?
I think it makes it even worse.
You do?
Yeah, because that means you would have just let the guy come in here, burn the house down, then tell him to leave. Nah, man, you're going to help rebuild this thing.
Is that the guy you want helping to rebuild it? Because the very next move after that was, let's go trade Quentin Grimes for Caleb Martin, who doesn't have a hip.
It's fair, but still, that's just the feeling that I get. Like, I think it would be even worse. What did Kyrie do over the weekend?
Okay, so Kyrie Irving has lots of free time now as he's recovering from his ACL tear, and it does bring up a question of, is there any risk here? So Kyrie was on a 4-hour Twitch stream.
Whoa!
And went on a couple different rants, and this was transcribed by Awful Announcing here. He started talking about NBA media, and in particular former athletes, and the way in which race and money pit players against one another and create an incorrect image of the league and its players. This is what Kyrie said. He said, let's stop allowing people to come into our culture, our spiritual game, and tell us what's right and what's wrong. And I'm talking to some of the former players, too. They've lost their way. There's some former players who just be talking chat S. You don't even be talking about anything. All you do is hate on the younger players. And then you've got younger players looking up to these older players, and we see them as, I don't want to call them our idols, but we looked up to them. We valued their journeys. We respected their journeys. We wanted to get close to them. And then when you see somebody that you respect like that and admire go on TV and talk about your journey as if it's just some, oh yeah, this just happens to you all the time. Get over it because you make a bunch of money. I'm so sick of that bleeping excuse, bro, that you're not allowed to feel because you make a lot of money in the NBA and you get paid. I don't have a problem with anything Kyrie Irving says there, right? It's
right.
Fine. That's his opinion, whatever else. But that's as worked up as he's gotten recently, is when you hear that. And it's the first time he's jumped on that Twitch stream in like a year and a half, I think. Are you concerned at all about Kyrie having too much free time and just talking into an open space
like
so frequently?
He's bored.
Yeah, and talking into an open space so frequently that he's disconnected from the game of basketball and maybe loses his way a little bit. Or are you comfortable with where he's at this point?
I'm fine with where he's at. If he says something, then he says something. But the reality is we don't have to worry about him on the floor for basically another year. So all the stuff that he says doesn't really matter. When you're hurt, you're like a ghost around there. You know, you really are like a ghost in the building. So whatever he says doesn't have an impact on the team. Because to be honest with you, who knows if he's actually going to be here next year?
Some of the answers here on the Franklin Injury Attorneys fan text, where we're just talking about where your fatigue level is at with the Luka fallout. 817, haven't watched since the trade and won't for a long time. 817, I want fire Nico everywhere until he's gone. I'm out until then. 817, fatigue, I'm furious still. 505, there is no fatigue factor. This is Boston trading the babe to the Yanks. And then there's plenty of others. 214, tired of hearing it. Nico isn't going anywhere. Wow. 817, no fatigue, still perplexed, doesn't make sense. 214, tired of hearing about it and tired of hearing about the NBA altogether. And then, let's see here. 817, no more Mavs or Cowboys talk for a few days would be bliss.